Alright, so, like, no, that's probably enough to talk about for today. Started thinking some more about the, my right of the reckoner and looking at those 4 columns. Okay, we're looking at the 110 stuff. So I checkmarked anything that is not bolded because it's either a divisor of 110 or it is 110. Like 6 times 9 is 54, circle it's 55. I could be a 1 or a 2, both divisors. Backwards out's 110, so, they all count. 10's a divisor, 55's a divisor, 1's a divisor, 11's a divisor, 110. 174 could be like a 111, which is a circled 110. 5 times 22 is 110. 322 plus 100 plus 100 is 522. 5 times 22. Anyway, the interesting thing is everything that's left over. Now there's 22, I mean. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 out of 36 being used, which means there are 14 other ones. Basically, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. The rest are numbers. Now let's just count the letters as their numbers this time. So if you actually sum everything, so if you take 6, 7, 13, 50, 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000, 1,000, 500, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 100, it actually sums to 11,276. Why is that important? Well, the number I kept finding before was 11,732. So I said, like, okay, how off am I? Well, apparently I'm that off. I'm 456 off. Now, do I have a 456 on my board? Remember, there's 6 pairs of divisors of 110. What? There you go. 456 right in the middle. Now, okay, it works. Okay, so let's check off this one, and let's check off this one, and let's check off this one. Now, 546. What I said to myself was, okay, if we're looking at 456 here, another 15, a first and 15, let's say. Let's just take a second to appreciate the center of the reckoner. So I said, okay, let's do that. So the 76, once again, could be like a 13 and a 42 if you add them and multiply them, and you add them together, it's 55, and you got your 21, 43 all kind of packaged in there. Find that interesting. But no one ever talks about 13 times 42. So I did that, and it comes to 546. In different notation, Anyways, it got 16 divisors. All the divisors look rather interesting, I might add. Lots of these are interesting. So I said, okay, there's your 456 or your 546, but you actually have a 456 on the reckoner. But I said, okay, that's all interesting. Now I said to myself, what if we add them as letters? So that's the 12th letter, the 3rd letter, the 4th letter, the 13th letter. If we take away the letters, it's no longer 456, it's actually 42, 42 backwards. 424 hertz, let's say. So I'm looking at that going, okay, we're going to get into 24s there in a second, but let's just start with that. I found some interesting synchronicities. Now, like, if that's the 22 cells used, that would be 23, 24, 25. There's always a sticky outy bit of a 1x2. Remember that. What the hell is that? That's your sticky outy bit. No, that's sorry. It goes to the middle. These two. 30 and 30. 30's perfection. 30 rock. 30 and 31 are your sticky outy bits, because all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns have been derived, and your sticky outy bits are these two. Now these two would be the 6 and the 0. So why is it so retarded that I'm going to take the sticky outy bits from this side to make my 4, 5, 6? Because maybe they count. I'm not using the middle on this one, but I want sticky outy bits, so I'm going to put my 4, 5, 6 here, and I'm going to check them all off. And now it's going to be not 22, but 23, 24, 25. 25 of 38. 4 times 9 is 36 plus 2, 38. 38! Nice number. So, well, where am I going with the new stuff? So, that was a couple days ago. I've been hemming and hawing about that, but this is all kind of new. So, we did that. Alright, now, okay, every light is just basically an elliptical. Okay, let's before that. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so in the middle you have a 0, 5, 7x. Now let's just say the 0 is where you put your 5 and your 7 to merge them together to make a 12. You know what I'm saying? You put 5 and 7 in the bubble, and then you come up with a sum. Let's just say that's adding. So let's look at x as the letter, the 24th letter. Now 24 and this 12 factor kind of make it 36, and I find it interesting that the 36th step is the center 76, and it kind of sums in a certain way to 36. See, like over here? That's all I'm saying. Those guys. So that's interesting. It's not worth talking about more than that. And over here, I guess we'll continue with the 76. So the 76 is basically your moon-sun particle. It's been defined as that, trust me. So like, that's the moon, that's the sun. It's your moon and sun particle. So, let's think of it this way. A 7 and a 6 could have a circle 7 and a circle 6, where that's an 8 and a 7. 8 and a 7 is a 15. If it's still in a final bubble, that's kind of like your first and 15, or your 115, okay? Which is important about what I'm talking about here. Now every elliptical, every light is just a moving elliptical of light, and the only way to mathematically show that would be a circle 69, I guess, which would sum to 15, and with the circle would be your 115. Now conversely, 6 times 9 is 54, and you have the bubble around it for your 55 aspect, which could just be a circled 5, doubly circled 5. And if you just take 1 away from the 6, because it's 6, you get a 5. Now if you have a bubble in a bubble, I'm sure that 9 of balance is no longer that, because I'm sure that 6, which is upside down, might spin around. So I think you have an upside down 5 here, which might spin around to a 5, so there's your kind of like 55 with the bubble notation kind of shown. So I want to talk about that, and back to here. So what else is a circled 7 and a circled 6 if it's not a 7 and an 8? 7 and an 8 to 50. Anyways, it could be a 14 and a 12. Now 14 and 12 is kind of like your alpha to omega. 26 letters of your alphabet, and if you circle the whole thing, it might double it. 52. So interesting to your language of math. And oh yeah, so like what else is, like, if that's a 69, which is basically you're trying to focus on one of them. We're going to focus on the 6 really on this one. Now on the conversely, if you're left with just a ring and a 9, that's kind of like the cell up here for Umbriel and Miranda. Like Umbriel and Miranda, which decode to Nibiru 2 different ways. But it's basically the 9. It's the first time that there's 2 and 1. And you can see it goes like 1 over and 2 down. So, I find it interesting that, okay, there's your, like, you know, circled 9, let's say, your 19, pretty easy. 90, let's say, factor. So the 90 factor, again, back to this. If you multiply 42 times 13, you get 546. Now 546 minus 90 is 456. So in a way, you can multiply the 13 and the 42 to get your 546, but you need to know you gotta get rid of that 90 somehow, and the 90 somehow could be maybe interpreted by this notation, kind of. And this notation has a linkage to, yeah, this. It's the whole first cell of Quran. It's used on the 18th step and the first step, where it's a 19 or a circled 9. And Quran is where the 69 comes from. So maybe it shows you the way of looking at it as a 6. and then the way of looking at it as a circled 9. That's all I kind of wanted to say about that. I'm doing good here. Oh yeah, and then, you know, I've always said that the seed pod here, the 2 5s, it's like that's the Nibiru. That's when plants are made after the 4x4 is created, because you have a source, then you have a first light to create a 2x2, then you have a second light to create a 3x3, and you have a fourth light to create a 5x5, a 4x4, 2x2, 3x3, a 4x4. But when plants are created, I think sticky outy bits by that 2 factor. By the 2 factor. It's very everywhere with everything. And then, you know, 45, 54 bubbled it. Anyways, that. I want to talk about that, which is this. So again, if that's just a circled 15, your first and 15, okay, what's this? This is 11, 33 is 44. 44 and 10, 54. Sticky outy bits, 54. Maybe it's all in a bubble. Maybe it's in a 1x2 bubble, which is really important. Maybe it's a 55. So I should have said circled 54, which is equal to a 55. Okay. I'm gonna mention that already. This one. Yeah, this one's cool. Oh yeah, let's do this one again. Yeah, and then you can also think of the 2 bubbles here that I didn't talk about, and then there's like a circled 54 or 55 with a 2 factor, and again, 522. No, that's not right, but anyways, 55 times 2 is 110. Back to the 110. So let's look at the 42 to answer everything. So we talked about the 42 here for 424. We're finally getting back to it. So we know that this 4 and 2 that I always talk about is the 42 I'm talking about, like the 4 with the 2. But we never really talk about like this side to make Fibonacci like the ever important seam. Maybe to solve for that 5 eventually, for Ganymede. So we're going to talk about the 42. So that circle, which is not, it's beside the 69, you know? That ring is the 4th thing created, and that 1 is the 2nd thing created. So there's like a 42 factor here, I would have to say. And then on this 4 with 1 and 1, or, you know, 2s, whatever you want to say, it's interesting because it's either a go, no-go flight, you know, for your launching into space, because you're 7. This is the 7th thing created, that's the 14th, and that's the 15th. It's on this board. It's the 7th thing, the 14th, and the 15th. Your 4 and your 2 zeros, your ring. See, your 42 and your 4 with 2. But this is a G, and that's an O, and that's an N, and that's an O. So it's either a go, no, go. Go, no, go. I don't know. So I just thought that was interesting. That, you know, you're 7, or you're 2 1 of 7s. You're 13, but I don't know, whatever you want to say. Again, the circled 7 can be a 14, but the circled 76 could be a, you know, 1st and 15 because of the V bubble. Anyways, just 2 different ways of looking at it. Again, a 115 is a 7. A 115 always reduces to a 7. Okay? 115 could be like a way of looking at a 15 in a bubble. So we've got the 7 taken care of, we got the 15 taken care of, we got the bubble taken care of, all we have is the 7. And again, a circled 7 could be a 14. So this kind of shows you all the different ways they could be. In 42 answer to everything language. And I guess over here, if I have time, oh yeah, the 69 goes down to the 9, 10 thing that I talked about here. Okay? It goes down there. And then the 76 will go down to the 42nd thing created, which is the value of 91. So I find that funny. 910 is 90, plus the bubble is 91. And they're literally 4 by 2 apart, okay? The 91 and the ring are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. a